Team Update 05. General. The team updates. Combined document will now show the most current team update will show first in the document, with previous team updates documents following in order of newest release to oldest release. Competition Manual. Section 6.1. Team Judged Awards Overview and Schedule. In addition to the specific information sources judges use to evaluate teams, there are also sources of information which are specifically disallowed. Judges are strictly instructed to only consider information from the current event and the current season and cannot consider information from outside what they have seen or heard at the current event. This means that information like past performance, good or bad, personal knowledge of a team, and external sources like websites and social media are not considered. Judges also do not consider overall robot performance in an award unless it is specifically listed as part of the required or encouraged evaluation criteria. Section 105.3. Robot Scoring Criteria. Ascent Definition. Level 1. Level 2. Robot is in contact with the LOW rung at the end of a match period. Per Section 10.5 Scoring Item A. Robot is fully supported by the high and/or LOW rungs at the end of the match. Per Section 10.5 Scoring Item A. Robot is fully supported by the high rung and completely. Level 3 above the top of the LOW rung at the end of the match. Per Section 10.5 Scoring Item A. Lateral contact with non-rung elements of the submersible is allowed for stabilization of the robot while ascending. The intent of the use of fully support language is that the robots are solely supported by the rungs when the ascent is scored using the rungs to climb. Robots which make incidental contact, e.g. not used for robot support or stabilization to the non-rung vertical submersible structural elements or alliance partner robot is judged by the referees, during or at the conclusion of their ascent are still eligible for ascent points. Additionally, the following conditions must be met. A. Robots can only ascend their own alliance-specific rungs. B. Robots must start their ascent with their chassis completely outside the submersible zone. C. For a Level 3 ascent, robots may not contact the high rung while supported by the tiles directly or transitively through another object, e.g., scoring elements or another robot, or grasping supported by any other part of the submersible structure except for the LOW rung. D. Robots that are eligible for multiple ascents or ascent and parking points only earn points for the highest value achievement. 2. If any of the above conditions are not met, it is not a valid ascent. If a robot does not meet ascent criteria, the robot may disengage from the submersible and attempt the ascent again. A robot is considered ascending once it is attempting to achieve an ascent level, and ascended once it has achieved an ascent level. The intent of Part B of this rule is for the robot to start its ascent outside of the submersible zone except for elements used by the robot to contact the rung. Once robots start their ascent, parts of the chassis robot may swing into the submersible zone, which is not a violation of this rule. Robots attempting a Level 3 ascent which then violates CI or 2, may still be eligible for lower-level ascent points as long as all other lower-level ascent criteria are met at the end of the match period. In this scenario, if a robot would like to re-attempt a Level 3 ascent, they must disengage from the high rung and attempt their Level 3 ascent again. Robots supported by an alliance partner robot. Scoring elements. Other non-rung elements sections of the submersible or the field floor will not be awarded an ascent Level 2 or 3. Section 11.4.3. Scoring element. Rule G408 Orange Box Update. Scoring elements removed from the field while attempting to score are not subject to a violation of this rule, however, are not returned to the field. Rule G410 Orange Box Update. Examples of interaction with a sample or specimen that are not control include, but are not limited to, A. Plowing or bulldozing, inadvertent contact with a sample or specimen, typically via a flat or convex surface, while in the path of the robot moving about the field. B. Deflecting, being hit by a sample or specimen that bounces off a robot. Excessive violations of control limits include, but are not limited to, simultaneous control of 3 or more samples and/or specimens, or frequent, greater than momentary control, i.e., more than twice in a match, of 2 or more scoring elements, samples and/or specimens. Repeated excessive violations of this rule do not result in additional yellow cards unless the violation reaches the level of egregious to trigger a G201 violation. Section 11.4.4. Robot. Rule G418 Orange Box Update. This rule is intended to limit the amount of floor area each robot can cover with the maximum range of motion of all extensions. All possible movement of extensions outside the starting configuration must be constrained as described in R104. During the match, referees may use arena elements to help gauge robot expansion during the match. For example, A tiles are approximately 24 in. 61 centimeters. B. The rungs on the submersible are 44.5 in, 113 centimeters wide. Referees that observe robots that are in violation of this rule may request the robot be re-inspected. G. 420. No climbing on the inside. Robots must start their ascent with their chassis completely outside the submersible zone. Violation, major foul, and team will not receive credit for ascent scoring outlined in section 10.5.3. The purpose of this rule is to limit how much of the robot may be inside the submersible zone before the ascent begins. Robot elements are allowed to reach into the submersible zone while attempting to ascend, as long as the robot chassis remains completely outside the submersible zone. It is expected that there will be some contact between opponent robots within the submersible zone, and this is intended to minimize the extent of that contact. Section 12.5. Motors and Actuators Rule R502 Orange Box Update. Servos must meet both requirements to be legal for use. Refer to the Legal and Illegal Parts List Inspection Quick Reference document for a list of servos that are pre-approved. Otherwise, teams must be able to provide documentation verifying servo specifications. Use the online calculator to verify output power compliance. If a manufacturer does not provide 6V specs, any specs for voltages that exceed 6V are allowed to be used. Stall current is the maximum stall current possible for the device at the specified voltage, regardless of any user or vendor adjustable software limits that may be available within the servo. It is important to ensure the voltage provided by the intended power regulation device is within the operating voltage range of the desired servo. The Rev Control Hub and Rev Expansion Hub provide 5V to servos, and the Rev Servo Power Module, Studica Servo Power Block, and Rev Servo Hub provide 6V to servos. While virtually all servos are compatible with 6V, servos with an operating voltage range of 6 to 8.4 dCV, for example, may not work properly when only provided 5V.